These are the new iPhone 17 models. This might be the biggest upgrade to iPhone in recent years. After 4 years, the standard version finally got high refresh rate display. The Pro brings the most powerful telephoto lenses and a new design, and there is a brand new model, the Ultra Thin Air. But after actually using it, I feel the most useful upgrade is the vapor chamber on the Pro. How's the iPhone experience this year? Let's get started. The standard model hasn't changed much. The back looks the same as last year, though the colors are softer. The front now borrows Pro's display, with a bigger size and slimmer bezels, making it look much more refined. The 17 Pro changes a lot. The camera bump is stretched out, and both the material and the frame are now metal. The frame extends into the back glass, wrapping around it. The benefit is that if you drop it, the back glass is less likely to break. The middle glass still allows wireless charging, but the mix of two materials loses the seamless look of pure glass. Which design do you prefer? One step back this year, the titanium frame is gone, replaced by aluminium. Remember, the 15's titanium was hyped as the #1 selling point. Now they've switched back. The upside is a unibody design that makes better cooling possible, which we'll see later. But hardness and texture are definitely a downgrade. The most eye-catching design is no doubt the iPhone Air. We didn't get a review unit, only tried it briefly after the launch. But even in that short hands-on, it gave me one of the most impressive feelings in years. At 5.6mm thick, 165 grams, with super thin bezels, it really feels like holding a piece of glass. Kind of magical. Because I returned that phone, we bought a dummy model online to use it for filming. You can't really find anything on the internet. I'll be willing to sacrifice camera for this kind of in-hand feel. Because at the end of the day, a phone is something you hold. But you know what I can't give up? Battery life. This year's battery life has really improved. After a 5-hour test, the standard 17 had 37% left, 13 points higher than last year. The 17 Pro improved the most, up 18 points from last year, and it even lasts longer than regular version. The Pro Max improved by 11 points, with 54% left, making it the biggest battery iPhone so far. And what about the Air? Did the battery collapse? I tested it briefly. After streaming 4K videos for 15 minutes, it lost 6%. Close to the 17. Not as bad as expected. Longer battery life is great, but what about charging? The 17 and 17 Pro jumped from 20 watts to 29 watts, cutting full charging time by about 25 minutes. The 17 Pro Max goes from 27 watts to 35 watts, saving about 30 minutes. This is the first iPhone charging speed upgrade in 4 years. Not easy. As long as your charger supports PD and is above 45 watts, you'll get the faster speeds. Overall, this generation makes solid progress in battery life, but the feature that really turns the reputation of this year's iPhone is the screen. For the first time, the standard model gets a high refresh display, a feature the Pro has had since 2021, and people clearly wanted it. Last year, pre-orders for the two standard models were 220,000. This year, a single model hit 2.69 million, more than 10 times higher. Besides high refresh, the 17 screen brightness and bezels now match the Pro, making the experience much better. But the real thing this year is the second-gen ceramic shield. The first one came with the iPhone 12. Apple says it's 3 times more scratch resistant. We used an AH harness pen with different levels of force to scratch the 16 and the 17. As you can see, the 16 shows scratches at 3.3 newtons, while the 17 held until 8.4 newtons, definitely more resistant. And the feature that really shook me up is a new switch in accessibility called Display Pulse Smoothing. For the first time, iPhone lets you adjust PWM dimming. Can turning it on really protect your eyes? For those who don't know, when you lower the brightness of an OLED screen, the peak brightness doesn't actually change. What changes is the on and off ratio. For example, if I set brightness to 10%, the screen is on 10% of the time and off 90% of the time. Because of the persistence of vision, it looks like 10% brightness. That's also why when you shoot the screen with a fast shutter, a widescreen looks stripped black and white. Some sensitive people feel this flicker strains their eyes, so phones have all kind of eye comfort tech. So what does Apple's Switch do? We tested with a fast shutter. After turning it on at low brightness, the black areas got smaller and the white areas larger, closer to real brightness adjustment. In other words, it smooths out the brightness pulses. But whether this reduces eye strain really depends on each person. If you don't feel eye strain now, you probably don't need to worry. In short, this year's screen upgrades aren't huge, except for high refresh on the standard model. But what about cameras? Don't be fooled by the big camera bump. The biggest upgrade this year is actually the front camera. For group selfies, you used to have to turn the phone sideways to get a wider frame. And now it's just tap a button and the frame rotates automatically. Very convenient. This works because it uses a square sensor. That way, even holding the phone upright, you can capture what used to need a horizontal grip. And the lenses itself is wider too. Great for group selfies. The downside is, in video mode, the frame isn't wider, and you can't use the full square sensor to shoot square videos or photos. Clearly, Apple loves this new camera. They even added a dual capture mode, so you can capture the scene and your reaction at the same time. The awkward part is, the two views are fully merged. That means if you want to hide your face later, you can't. To make sure the subject isn't blocked, you can move the little window around quickly, like this. Every year, the Pro camera gets slightly bigger, but this year, it's a big jump. Yet looking at the specs, the main and ultra-wide are the same as last year. So what actually improved? We took some shots. Well, to put it simply, not much. The real upgrade is the telephoto. The Pro now has a 100mm equivalent, 48 megapixels camera. The zoom ratio is smaller than last year, but thanks to a bigger sensor and more pixels, Apple can crop in to extend to 8x. So, does it really reach optical quality zoom? We compared samples, zoomed in. The 17 Pro Max's images are cleaner and sharper. The difference is especially clear in videos. Detail is better than last year's 5x telephoto. If you like concerts, this is a great upgrade. Another good part is, switching between lenses on iPhone is still very smooth. Actually, kind of fun. Besides telephoto, the system now supports ProRes RAW. It's crazy. A 15-second videos takes 4 GB of storage. Probably not for daily use, but the sharpness and editing flexibilities are much better. Of course, shooting such massive videos needs good performance. This year, the 17 Pro series and the Air uses a new A19 Pro chip. The regular 17 gets the A19. Architecturally, they're similar, with the Pro version having 1 extra GPU core. CPU scores are up 8% for the regular version, 10.7% for the Pro, normal gains. GPU improvements are bigger, 16.5% for regular, 24.2% for the Pro, now on par with Android flagships. In games, the difference is obvious. In Resident Evil Village, the 16 series ran around 35 FPS after 20 minutes. The 17 series hit nearly 50 FPS, much smoother. But the real performance story isn't benchmarks, it's cooling. For the first time, the Pro models use a vapor chamber. Think of it as a tiny pipes inside the phone. When the chip heats up, liquid evaporates and spreads heat across the plate. It then condenses back into liquid, spreading heat evenly instead of concentrating it in one spot. On thermal images, the 16 Pro Max shows heat all concentrated around the SoC. The 17 Pro Max spreads it out with lower overall temps. Numbers back this up. Recording 4K 120fps video for 15 minutes. The 17 Pro stayed 4.3 degrees cooler than the 16 Pro. On the big models, the gap is even bigger, 6.1 degrees cooler. Very impressive. Better cooling also means less brightness throttling. Playing Honkai Star Rail on max, the 16 Pro dimmed multiple times after a minute, dropping from 500 nits to 170 nits. Hard to see characters by the end. The 17 Pro dropped only from 500 to 400, much less disruptive. Recording 4K 60fps video, the 16 Pro Max dimmed after 13 minutes. The 17 Pro Max lasted 19 minutes. The awkward part is, outdoors in very hot conditions, the 17 Pro series can throttle even sooner, likely because it conducts heat more effectively into the chassis. Still, everyone knows the feeling of holding a phone with a hot back. This year's Pro models finally try to fix that. Pro Max, with its larger body, cools even better. The regular 17 didn't change design, so its temps are about the same as last year. Now we know why Apple dared to give it a high refresh screen. And then there's the Air. It has the A19 Pro, but CPU performance is about the same as A19, and GPU lags behind the regular 17. Apple probably kept it on purpose for battery and cooling. Overall, the Pro gaming experience is on another level this year, thanks to cooling and GPU gains. But you know where else the iPhone needs performance? The new system. Last year, Apple was criticized for delaying its AI features, so this year they made up for it with 8 updates in a year. Just kidding. When you swipe up to unlock, you will notice icons around the rectangles are rounder than before. The logo has more light and shadow detail, making the flat UI look more three-dimensional. Turn the phone, and the highlights along the edges shift with the angle. Swipe the screen, and transparent folders bend the wallpaper beneath like a light refraction. Pull down the notification center, and you'll even see real-time light flares along the edge. This is the brand new design language of iOS 26, Liquid Glass. I have to say, despite all the complaints online, it really does feel refined. But when I change the wallpaper, bruh, Maybe this is what they call a reality distortion field. The bigger issue is readability. Transparency means the patterns on the glass surface overlap with what's underneath. When we tested the first beta of iOS 26, we often thought we'd turn on airplane mode just by pulling down Control Center. On light backgrounds, the interface is worse. For example, when unlocking with the passcode, the screen only shows 3 digits clearly. Sometimes you can't really even find the buttons. To fix this, Apple first increased opacity and added shadows, so buttons separate from the background. They also asked developers to use liquid glass sparingly, only for top and bottom bars, not in the main content. Next, feedback is clearer. Almost all system animations are bouncier. Tapping these glassy buttons shows highlight and droplet effect. Switching layers now uses split and merge animations, like Dynamic Island, instead of fading in and out. These stronger animations makes the glass presence more obvious. Finally, most app buttons have been rearranged. Common actions are now at the bottom for easier reach. For example, the camera's mode switch is now under the shutter. Fancy features like cinematic mode and spatial video, which look cool but few people use, are hidden in bubbles. Only photo and video remain up front. And to make transparent buttons stand out, iOS 26 make them really big, sometimes like senior mode is on. The clearest example is the alarm. It used to look like this, with a small stop button. Now it looks like this. But humanity doesn't change. What the? I'm not sure, what do you think of this new digital material? Online reviews are very divided. For us, liquid glass really fills the gap for a true full screen look. This was the iPhone X in 2017, Apple's first full-screen iPhone. These were other full screens at the time, and this is what we have now. No doubt, iPhone popularized round-the-corner full screens. But they brought one issue: content gets cut off by those corners. To solve it, Apple introduced safe areas in iOS 11, sacrificing part of the top and bottom display for harmony. But as screens got bigger, the corner radius grew too. The safe distance at the top also gets taller. As a result, the 6.9-inch 16 Pro Max shows only a toothpick more content than the 6.7-inch 12 Pro Max. Hard to imagine how big the corners on iPhone 17 will be. By using glass material, Apple can free up those blocked top and bottom bars, giving a true full-screen feel. Looking back, Apple has always tried to maximize display use and unify the design language across iPhone, iPad, and Mac. From that perspective, transparent, liquid glass is their best option now. Readability still needs balancing with visuals, but I do like this design. At least when booting up, it instantly feels like a new phone. You can't help but play with the light and shadows inside. That's something the past 3 iPhones failed to do. And here's another first in 18 generations of iPhones. Before, you could only swipe back from the left edge. Now, the entire screen works, as long as you're not swiping on an area without gesture support. More useful though is call screening. When an unknown number calls, the iPhone picks up first and asks who they are and what they want. After they explain, it rings for you. Then you can decide based on the transcript whether to answer. In short, iOS 26 brings out a lot of useful features, but liquid glass is the star. It feels fresh and makes content more immersive. Clearly, Apple is very proud of this new material.
Let's talk about liquid glass.
Oh, yay.
You guys really like glass.
We do.
It's a nice material.
But what about AI?
But staying on AI for a second, you do have some more of
On iOS
OpenAI.
18 last year, Apple painted a big promise: a personalized Siri. It could read your screen and with one command, tell you things like when your mom's flight lands by checking contacts and mail. But this year, when I asked it the same thing, it said pick option B. That feature still hasn't arrived. Maybe because of last year's experience, Apple only shipped it smaller changes this year. One nice surprise is the flat to spatial photo feature. Almost any photo can be 3Dified and used as lock screen wallpaper. It actually works well. Another is seamless track switching in Apple Music. AI stitches song endings and intros to make transitions DJ smooth. By now, you should have a clear picture of the iPhone 17 lineup. What do you think of this year's iPhone? My opinion is that this is the year Apple listened. Standard models finally have high refresh after 4 years. Base storage jumped after 4 years. Charging finally got faster. PWM dimming got an option after nearly a decade. And cooling, once ignored, became a selling point. No wonder reviews are mostly positive. That said, storage is still priced like gold. Product level takeaways: the Air is stunning but has too many compromises to be a hit. The Pro's camera system and cooling are great, but most people won't need them. The standard iPhone 17 is the best price-performance balance this year. The sad thing, Apple killed the Plus. If the Plus had got high refresh, it might have been the perfect iPhone. Light, big, long battery, fast charging. No point in paying $300 more for the Pro Max model. Maybe that's why Plus got axed. And that's it for the iPhone 17. Next, I want to talk about something more important. At the end of the day, whether it's the air thinness, the pros cooling, or liquid glass, these are iterative improvements on ideas you've seen since 2010s. We've been through these upgrade cycles for 15 years. So one technology that could actually change how we use phones is AI. But so far, Apple's AI performance is poor. Last year's Jammoji was just for laughs. Language tweaks and screenshot tools are a bit useful, but utterly crashed by GPT. The big promise, a model-driven Siri that reads device data to answer when does my mom's flight land, or who did I meet at a cafe last week, simply didn't work. Worse, Apple ran an ad for that feature in September 2024, then pulled it 6 months later because it didn't work. That shows real confusion inside Apple on AI. By Apple failing doesn't mean other phone makers did better. I tried many phone AIs. Most feel like a minigame collection. Vendors hide features everywhere, but unless you study them, you'll never find or remember them. Combined, they're still less useful than a standalone ChatGPT app. Is this due to technical limits that prevent practical must-have features? Or is it worse? Smartphones are already so mature that AI simply has no killer app on them. What would be a phone that truly uses AI to extremely look like? We made a totally irresponsible guess.
Hi, Uber Eats here. I can't find Building H.
Wait a second. My friend can explain.
Hi, please drive toward the Blue Flower Shop, then turn left.
13 even.
Thanks.
Wait, I found a coupon for you. Want to use it?
It's impossible to get tickets.
I found someone selling tickets at the original price. Want me to contact him?
Siri, put me a ride to the airport.
Okay, but why? Your flight is tomorrow. Need me to reschedule it?
Navigate to downtown.
Downtown's packed. Drive to City Mall and take the subway 2 stops. You'll save 30 minutes.
That's too much trouble. I just want to go downtown.
Alright, but parking there is like $50 an hour.
Navigate to City Mall. These ideas are a bit of a joke, but the point is, unlike GPT, which waits for input, phone AI can constantly read your screen and every word on the device, so it can proactively help in ways an app cannot. Apple's personalized Siri from 2024 was aiming there, but execution is hard. For example, if I say, Siri, send me the last Friday's client brief, Siri must know who I messaged last Friday, which app, what the content was, which part is the request, and then be able to open and share it. Crucially, will WhatsApp let Siri read chats? Is it an AI that remembers every action and phrase on your phone? A little scary. Another example, Siri, order me a boba. Which app? Which store? What drink? How to set flavors? How to authorize payment? How to set boundary between automation and user choice? Designing AI features is far harder than traditional app development, but if AI can integrate tightly with the OS, instead of just being another entry point, it could change how we use phones. 18 years ago, iPhone started the mobile internet revolution and changed our lives. Times have changed. Now, how the iPhone enters AI era and whether it can ship a killer feature may be the last and most important battle of the Cook era. To win, Apple might need to reinvent the iPhone for AI. But with the 17, Apple simply didn't hand in that homework. Let's wait for the next year's Apple AI and see if they bring something new. Okay everyone, that's the whole video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. You might know our channel from some of the DIY projects we've done, but I originally started out doing tech reviews. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.